and my privilege to join this honourable House in welcoming His Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama, to the Parliament of Jamaica. We welcome you, the President of Ghana.
You are indeed the African Union champion on reparations, and you led in this first ever United Nations resolution.
Jamaicans' respect for Ghanaians has leveled up after seeing what the president of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, did in Jamaica today. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Delphina and I'm super happy returning back to you. If this is your first time on this channel, you are highly welcome. Please do also like and share this video. Also do also press the notification bell to get notified whenever I drop another one. And to my returning subscribers, thank you so very much for always clicking in, guys. Let's watch the video.
God bless John Dramani Mahama. Don't me say the guyest president, the most simple president ever in the world right now.
Give me one row. Give me one row. We have to sign the ganja agreement.
If it be easy, do am. If it be easy, do am.
Guys, with the previous video you watched, I believe you already know President John Dramani Mahama is currently in Jamaica. Please, let's kindly watch how our humble president arrived and also addressing a joint meeting of the House of Parliament in Jamaica. Let's dive into it.
It's my great honor and pleasure to meet you here. The pleasure is ours. Welcome to
Thank you. All the best.
His Excellency, welcome to us. We're happy you're in Jamaica.
Thank you very much. You look like my younger brother. Thank you. How are you? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. President.
For today, the descendants of those who left Ghana welcome the President of Ghana to the Parliament of Jamaica.
I now invite His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, to address this joint sitting of the Honorable Senate and House of Representatives of Jamaica. His Excellency.
Thank you very much. Right Honorable Speaker, at the end of my brother, the Right Honorable Prime Minister's speech, he said Medasi. Medasi in the Kan language means I thank you. For those who didn't understand what he said. And of course, welcome is Akwaba. I'm sure these are simple words that we've shared over our history. Aside from that, I was a three-term member of Parliament, so I feel very comfortable in the chambers of Parliament. Right Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness, Right Honorable Speaker, Juliet Holness, President of the Senate, Right Honorable Tom Taveras, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Right Honorable Members of Parliament, it is with profound humility and a deep sense of history that I stand before you, this distinguished joint sitting of the Parliament of Jamaica, to thank you sincerely for the exceptional honor of addressing this August Assembly during my state visit to Jamaica. I bring you warm fraternal greetings from the government and people of the Republic of Ghana, your brothers and sisters across the Atlantic Ocean. I also bring the goodwill of an entire continent that regards Jamaica not merely as another friendly nation, but as an indispensable member of our wider African family. Our gathering here today is much more than a diplomatic engagement. It is a reunion of history. It's a celebration of our shared heritage and a reaffirmation that although the Atlantic Ocean may separate our shores, it can never diminish the bonds that unite our people. The relationship between Ghana and Jamaica is unlike many others in the community of nations. It was not forged by treaties alone. It was forged through shared sacrifice, sustained by resilience, and strengthened by a common belief in freedom, justice, and human dignity. Today, as Jamaica commemorates Emancipation Day and celebrates the 64th anniversary of independence, Ghana joins you in honoring the remarkable journey of a proud people whose courage, creativity, and resilience continues to inspire the whole of Africa, the Caribbean, and the global African diaspora. And Ghana is proud to have been among the first countries to recognize the newly independent nation in 1962. Emancipation Day and Independence Day are not simply national celebrations, they are enduring symbols of humanity's determination to overcome oppression and reclaim dignity. They remind us that even in the darkest chapters of history, nothing can extinguish the human spirit. The story of Jamaica is in many respects the story of Africa. It began in the great civilizations of our continent, the Empire of Ghana, Mali, Songhai, Great Zimbabwe, Buganda, Ashanti, Moshi, Benin, Ile-Ife, and many others. And this is before millions of Africans were forcibly taken across the Atlantic, endured the horrors of the Middle Passage, survived the brutality of enslavement, but found hope in communities in the New World that refused to surrender their identity, their faith, or their humanity. Against unimaginable odds, our ancestors preserved their cultures, their traditions, and their belief in freedom. They resisted oppression in countless ways, ensuring that future generations would inherit not despair, but hope. From the Maroon communities in Jamaica to the liberation movements that swept across Africa, the spirit of resistance of the African endured. And it ultimately gave birth to free nations that were determined to shape their own destinies. Today we honor the enslaved men and women whose labor enriched empires while their humanity was denied them. We honor those who resisted injustice. We honor those who fought for emancipation, self-determination, and national liberation. And we honor the generations whose sacrifice secured the freedoms that we enjoy today. Their courage reminds us that freedom is never given on a silver platter. It is earned through sacrifice. It is sustained by vigilance and is strengthened by unity. As we honor our shared past, we must also confront it with honesty and courage. History cannot be changed, but it can be acknowledged. And only by acknowledging historical truth can we build a future that is founded on reconciliation, justice, and mutual respect. As was recently reaffirmed at the United Nations General Assembly, the transatlantic slave trade and the racialized chattel enslavement of Africans was the gravest crime committed against humanity. The consequences of this grave crime did not end with abolition. The consequences continue, even today, to shape the patterns of inequality and exclusion that have persisted across our world. For this reason, we must remain steadfast in advancing the global conversation on reparatory justice. Our pursuit of reparatory justice is not motivated by resentment or hostility or a desire to revisit old wounds. It is inspired by our commitment to the truth, to accountability, to reconciliation, and to healing. It seeks recognition of historical wrongs, acknowledgement of their enduring consequences, and a collective determination to build a more just and equitable global order. In this regard, permit me to express Ghana's profound appreciation to the government and people of Jamaica for your unwavering support to Ghana's initiative at the United Nations, which culminated in the adoption of Resolution ARES/80/250, and for your invaluable contribution to the Accra Next Steps Conference on Reparatory Justice. Jamaica has provided principled leadership on this important issue for many years. Together, our two nations are ensuring that the descendants of those who suffered history's greatest injustice are neither forgotten or denied a voice in shaping a fairer world. Our advocacy is ultimately about hope. Hope that our future generations will inherit a world in which historical truth is acknowledged, human dignity is upheld, and justice becomes the foundation for lasting reconciliation. And that is the vision that continues to unite Ghana and Jamaica. It is a vision worthy of our ancestors. It is a vision to which we remain unwaveringly committed. I wish to also reiterate my message to the Right Honourable Prime Minister of Jamaica, Dr. Andrew Holness, yesterday, that Ghana fully supports the petition on slavery Jamaica proposes to soon submit to King Charles III. Right Honourable Prime Minister, Madam Speaker, Right Honourable President, Honourable Members, while we must never forget the injustices of history, neither must we allow them to imprison us. The story of people of African descent is not simply one of suffering. It is equally a story of resilience, excellence, and enduring achievement. It is a story of civilizations that advanced human knowledge, of freedom fighters who challenged oppression, of innovators who expanded the frontiers of science and technology, of artists whose creativity enriched global culture, and of statesmen and women who inspired nations to believe in the possibilities of freedom and self-determination. Few countries have contributed to this legacy I describe more profoundly than Jamaica. The land that gave the world the visionary leadership of the Right Honourable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, whose call for black pride, self-reliance, and African unity awakened the consciousness of millions across Africa and the diaspora. His ideas inspired generations of Pan-African leaders, including our own founding father, President Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who admitted in many of his writings that he drew strength from Garvey's vision in leading Ghana to independence and championing the liberation and unity of the African continent. The Pan-African movement itself is a testament to the inseparable bonds between Africa and the Caribbean. It was nurtured not only by Africans, but also by distinguished Caribbean sons and daughters, among them the great Trinidadian Pan-Africanist George Padmore, who made Ghana his home and worked side by side with President Nkrumah in advancing the cause of African liberation and unity. These towering figures remind us that the freedom of Africa and the Caribbean has always been a shared enterprise. Jamaica has also given humanity the timeless message of Bob Marley, whose music transcends borders. And whose voice became a universal anthem for freedom, justice, and human dignity. Through your writers, musicians, athletes, and creative talents, Jamaica has projected a cultural influence far beyond its size and has enriched the heritage of the global African family. In Ghana, across the Atlantic, we've never regarded these achievements as Jamaica's alone. We have celebrated them as victories for all people of African descent. Today, although we live under different flags and may speak with different accents, we remain united by a common heritage and an interconnected destiny. The challenge before us is therefore clear. We must transform our shared history into shared purpose. We must move beyond sentiments and build partnerships that create opportunity, expand prosperity, and improve the lives of our people. And as our first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, reminded us, and I quote, he says, "The forces that unite us are intrinsic and greater than the superimposed influences that keep us apart." Those words speak as powerfully to us today as they did at the dawn of African liberation. Now, our generation must secure economic transformation, scientific advancement, and technological leadership. As Bob Marley famously reminds us, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. The liberation of the African mind remains one of the defining tasks of our generation.
You are indeed the African Union champion on reparations. And you led in this first ever United Nations resolution to specifically address reparations and racialized chattel slavery. I'm honored to be asked to serve on your Global Advisory Council and look forward to our first meeting in the coming months. I wish to also thank you for your commitment to support Jamaica's petition to King Charles, which will be submitted in the near future. Mr. President, as you are aware, after more than 2 decades of dormancy, the third Jamaica-Ghana Permanent Joint Commission on Cooperation was convened in Accra in May of this year, led jointly by your Minister, Samuel Ablakwa, and our Minister, Kamina Johnson-Smith. And this has given fresh impetus to the relationship. Its tangible outcomes included a bilateral agreement for the recruitment of Ghanaian health professionals to serve in Jamaica's public health system, a memorandum of understanding on defense cooperation, and an amendment to the agreement on cooperation in the field of arts and culture. These agreements provide a strong framework for expanding collaboration in sectors that are critical to the development and the prosperity of both our nations. As we both work for the economic emancipation and economic independence of our people, our partnership must also extend focus on the realm of trade, investment, and shared prosperity. Mr. President, on your visit to the Port of Kingston yesterday, you saw the significant investments we have made to establish Kingston as a premier logistics and transshipment hub in the region. Similarly, Ghana, through its own port expansion, is the premier gateway to West Africa. The alignment is clear. By connecting our ports, our peoples, our markets, we can together build a West Africa, Caribbean, Latin America trade logistics corridor. This ambition is given real force in the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, which is headquartered fittingly in Accra. For a Jamaican or Caribbean enterprise, Ghana can be the doorway to Africa. And for a Ghanaian or African enterprise, Jamaica can be the doorway to the Americas. We are pleased that you have charged Minister Ablakwa to work with Minister Johnson-Smith on ensuring advancement of a roadmap to support this vision. This state visit represents momentum in the Jamaica-Ghana relations. Now we must move decisively towards building out the practical architecture that will facilitate stronger institutional partnerships, increased commercial engagement, enhanced cultural exchange, and a renewed commitment to working together for the benefit of our peoples. President Mahama, thank you for honoring us with your presence. May the friendship between Jamaica and the Republic of Ghana continue to flourish for generations to come. Medahashi. That means thank you.
And my privilege to join this honorable House in welcoming His Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama, to the Parliament of Jamaica. We welcome you, the President of Ghana, but we also welcome a people with whom we have shared a journey for centuries. Our ancestors stood upon the shores of Ghana. They walked through the door of no return. History gave it that name. It was meant to mark an ending, the ending of a homeland, the ending of people, the ending of hope. But history does not always belong to those who write it. Our ancestors crossed an ocean, but they did not cross out memory. They crossed an ocean, but they did not cross out identity. They crossed an ocean, but they did not cross out hope. They carried with them songs that became our music. They carried rhythms that still beat in our hearts. They carried traditions that found new life in Jamaica. They carried faith that sustained generations. They carried an unbreakable spirit that no chain could bind and no ocean could drown. They left the shores of Ghana, but Ghana never left them. It lives in our culture, it lives in our language, it lives in our communities, it lives in us. Madam Speaker, history has a remarkable way of completing its circles. When Ghana emerged as the first independent nation in sub-Saharan Africa, it chose as its symbol at the center of its flag the black star, inspired by Marcus Garvey's vision of the Black Star Line, a Jamaican dream that has become part of Ghana's national identity. How fitting that a dream born in Jamaica should become a symbol of African freedom. How fitting that the story which began in Africa should return, not in chains, but in triumph. Our nations, Mr. President, are connected not only by memory, but by purpose. Madam Speaker, Ghana has not confined itself to remembering history. It is helping to shape it. Your country's leadership at the United Nations in advancing the recognition of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade as crimes against humanity marked a significant moment in the international pursuit of justice. It affirmed for us that this is not merely a question of memory or morality, but one of international law, human dignity, and the continuing consequences of one of history's great injustices. Today, you, President Mahama, you have renewed that leadership through the establishment of the Global Advisory Council on Reparatory Justice, on which 3 prominent Caribbean leaders sit. Our own Prime Minister Andrew Holness, Prime Minister Mia Mottley, and Dr. Ralph Gonzalez have been called to your service. Madam Speaker, I hope that President Mahama's presence here will also inspire us to reflect on our own unfinished journey towards full sovereignty. As we speak of reparatory justice and the enduring legacy of colonialism, may we find the courage to complete our own journey from monarchy to republic and to embrace the Caribbean Court of Justice. For if we are serious about reclaiming our history, asserting our sovereignty, and shaping our own future, then surely we must have the courage to do so fully. May this visit remind us that the journey from Africa to the Caribbean did not end with emancipation or independence. It continues in the work of building nations that are fully sovereign, confident in their identity, and masters of their own destiny. The great Caribbean poet, Kamau Brathwaite, whose years in Ghana transformed his understanding of the Caribbean, taught us that Africa was never a place from which we came. It is a part of who we are. Perhaps this is why this visit feels so deeply significant.